on the dummy video until they start?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about my audio being up and
Actually, well,
because it's up right now.
no, it'll only send.
It only sends the what you got up, which is your video right now.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
look at a video we've got for you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda C. Jones. I am the president of the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education, and I would like to welcome you to the Board of Education listening session. This month and next, as we begin the process of transitioning to a new superintendent, we're hosting listening sessions across Kansas City, Kansas, in order to hear what you want for your schools and for this community. Our district has a clear vision. We're striving to be one of the top 10 school districts in the nation. We know that we have achieved our vision when we reach our district goal. Every student will exit high school prepared for college and careers in a global society. We know our students are prepared when they graduate Diploma Plus. A student who graduates Diploma Plus will graduate with a high school diploma and one of the following additional endorsements: completion of at least one full year of college, completion of an industrial recognized certificate or credential, at least a 21 on the ACT or 1060 on the SAT, completion of a qualified internship or industry approved project, acceptance into the military, completion of IB diploma program or career-related program, an approved plan for post-secondary transition. We will reach our goal through our mission, inspiring excellence, every grown-up, every child, every day. That work begins in preschool, where we work to build a strong foundation in academic and social emotional skills. At the elementary level, we focus on building strong literacy skills and leadership development. At middle school, our students experience project-based, hands-on learning, career exploration, and college and industry visits. As students enter our high schools, which are organized into career and college academies, they participate in real-world experience tied to their career interests. They get to choose the academy that matches their interests, from civil engineering and architecture to health informatics. From teaching as a profession or law enforcement and public safety, and for Sumner Academy students, the full International Baccalaureate Diploma. Today, we want to hear from you about our work and about how we can strengthen it. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas. Thank you for coming.
Again, I want to thank you for being here. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the full board, if they will introduce themselves, please. Starting with Maxine.
Maxine Drew.
Harold Brown.
Janie Humphreys.
Valdini Nguyen, and welcome. And this is my alma mater. So this cafeteria looks a lot larger. Thought I was going to say smaller.
Dr. Stacy Yeager, Wyandotte High School graduate.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our board attorney, Greg Goheen, which will lead it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Happy to see everybody here on an Easter weekend. Glad you guys are taking time out of your holiday weekend and also pre-Final Four weekend and game time to come out and have this opportunity to meet with the board and to present ideas and tell the board what's important to you for our schools, to share your concerns and share other ideas you might have for the Board of Education as they continue this listening tour. This is the third of 4 scheduled listening tours that the board is doing. We have people here in attendance. We also have people participating via social media, and they can have the opportunity to ask questions or present ideas and information as well. As we go forward with the meeting today, we're scheduled to be here from 1 to about 3 o'clock. We're going to make sure everybody gets plenty of time to voice whatever concerns or to share whatever ideas they may have. So we ask that you sort of be a little concise in your comments so we can make sure we get everybody have an opportunity to say what they want to say. In addition, we would ask that if you want to speak today, that you either fill out a card or give some of their information to on the sheet up front so that we can have your name so that I can call you out and identify you so that you can stand up and speak. Before we get going with the actual comments, I was going to have Rachel Henderson speak very briefly. She's the president of the Kansas City, Kansas PTA. Is that correct?
Yep, that works. Good afternoon. I'm a millennial, so I do keep all my notes on my phone, so please forgive me. My name is Rachel Henderson, as you mentioned, and I have the privilege to serve as the KCK Council PTA president. The council is really here to support the PTAs that we have here in the district. So we do training, we get them started, working with them on issues that they may have, many different sorts of things. As many of you know, PTA has been existent for more than 120 years. With 4 million members nationally, 15,000 in Kansas, and 400 members right here in KCK throughout our school district. These PTAs are raising dollars to engage more parents, teach kids about STEM, improve educational and career outputs, but most of all, build community. But we can't continue this work without parents, students, teachers, administrators, and the community. In today's society, we all know that parent engagement looks different. We have to look at more barriers that today's families embrace, from young parent homes to the foster child. Today's parents, lost myself. Today's parents, families, and PTAs look different than it did 5 or 10 years ago, or better yet, last year. So what is this 28-year-old up here really saying? Every day, there is going to be a different battle for the kids in our district. A better outcome that we would have hoped for, a better decision that we would have wished would have been made. But we can't expect the administration to do it all, is what I'm up here to say. We have to find ways to collaborate, be innovative, and be supportive of each other. In spite of disagreements, differences of opinions, and when things don't seem like they are getting better. Why? Because our kids deserve that. We all want what's best for our personal children. Mine are here with me today. Our grandchildren, our community. We all want what's best for all children in our district. If we continue to put every child's needs first, every child's development and growth, we will be better together. If you don't have a PTA at your school, let's start one. I'm sitting right here in the front row, just let me know. If you don't have parent engagement at your school, let's talk, because it probably looks different if you've been with the district for 20, 30 years. If you need help understanding policies or your rights as a parent, community advocate, or just want help, PTA is here for you. Just reach out. Our email account is kckcouncilpta@gmail.com, and I will be here for an hour if you need me.
Thank you very much. As we go forward with the format today, we would ask that everybody, when you give your comments, there are a couple ground rules we'd appreciate. One is, if you have a concern about a specific student incident or a specific incident involving personnel, because this is an open public meeting and we do want to respect the privacy interests of the children and the personnel, we would ask that you not comment on them by name specifically. Certainly, we will try to address a concern if you have it as it relates to a specific individual or a personnel matter, but we would ask that you talk to one of the administrators afterwards with specifics regarding that and keep your open public comments to generalities about the situation and things of that nature. With that in mind, I will start off with, is it Brian Curtis?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Brian Curtis. I'm a student from J.C. Harmon High School. Most of you guys don't know that. I'm here today because I would like to try to start a program in our district. The board has received letters from me about that. The program will be called the Student Board Association, and this the Student Board Association will help the district, the staff, teachers at our school, but most importantly to help the students with guidance, counseling, or if they just need help with with anything, and to also help with the PTA. So the student board associates will help with the PTA.
PTSA, I hear you.
But it would be a pleasure to have a student board association to also get a student's perspective of things that's going on in the district, and just to hear, some of our opinions. But I've had students from Harmon that had come up to me and, told me that, they would like to see this program start because they want to do such thing as I'm doing. So the board, you guys, like I said, you guys receive letters, and I hope that this program starts, and it would be a pleasure to be in it and to run it. Thank you.
Okay, next on the sheet, I have, I can't read the second handwriting on the last name, so I apologize if I say this wrong. Is it Shirley? Is it Carter? Eichert. My apologies, ma'am. I was trying so hard to read that correctly.
I'm Shirley Carter Eichert, and I'm here today for 3 reasons. One is I think the board should be more open to questions when they have their regular board meetings. Because if you hear something that you want to comment about, there's no way to do that. If you have not called in earlier or wrote a letter or something or put your name on the list. And I think I have talked to a lot of people, because I do come to school board meetings, and I have talked to a lot of people, and they say there's no need in coming because you can't say anything. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because I didn't know that we couldn't walk up in front when they have a break and tell them what I wanted to say. But they quickly told me I had to sit down, and that was okay. The other thing is we need more summer schools. I would think probably 60%. That's not a hard figure because I picked it out of the air. But we need summer schools for our children. I worked at a summer school last year, and they had to provide their own transportation to come to summer school. A lot of kids cannot come to summer school because they do not have transportation. And we need it really bad. We need summer school. Other thing is when we get a form that says that a child is going to be homeschooled, does anybody ever check up on that child to see if they're going to school, are they going to be homeschooled, and does anybody ever check up on that child again? We don't know where the child is being educated or not till maybe couple years later. It shows up somewhere, maybe in the 3rd, 4th grade, and the kid hasn't been to school for 2 years. We need some kind of mechanism to check up on children that say that their parents say that they're going to be homeschooled. And that's mine for today.
No, homeschool. Can you answer that, Greg? About homeschool. About homeschool.
The board wanted me to at least comment on the fact, as far as the homeschooling situation goes, when parents withdraw their kids to participate or homeschooling them, there are some reporting guidelines, but those don't come back through the school district. So it's only if they return to school at the school district at some point in time. That there's a program or curriculum that's set up for them that they can designate as when they do the homeschooling. It's a pull out by the parents. I don't have a good answer for that because there's not it's a state issue that would be dealt with by how they operate that. Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Does DCF follow up on that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, but it would go through a different department. Okay, next I have Melissa Malcolm.
afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
I recognize a lot of faces out here, back there and up here. I happen to be a teacher in KCK. This school chose me. I was walking across the stage getting my master's degree when I received a call from HR, and they said, please come here. This is my four and a half year here. I started here 4.5 years ago, and I have never regretted a day, ever. Our children are capable. They are intelligent children. And even though we struggle a little bit with some issues, those same issues that you've heard at every one of these tours, I have watched every one of them. A couple of things for you today, or at least things that I feel are pertinent that we look at. The first thing I wanted to discuss was we spend a lot of time hiring the best of the best, but we can't keep them. In 4.5 years in this building, I have watched a lot of teachers walk out the door, and it wasn't because of pay. That always plays into it. Money is nice. We like money. But there are other issues going on. And you heard it, Wyandotte, discipline plays a lot of that role. We cannot be full-time disciplinarians in our classroom. That is reality. We need your help. We have policies in place to take care of the severe discipline issues, but the smaller infractions add up. So we need some help with that. Teacher retention is a problem. When I watch, 3 and 4 years in a row, 10, 12, 15 teachers walk out, and we start the year with 10, 12 long-term subs, that's a problem. We need to fix that. We also know as parents and community members and students, not every child learns the same way. Not every classroom is set up the same way. I have said in meeting after meeting this year talking about how we're going to reorganize our classrooms and we're going to get great new furniture, and I'm excited about that. However, 10 to 12% of our students, it's a true statistic, need alternative placement. They need to learn differently to be successful. We need them to be successful in our community. For that to happen, they need to learn in an environment that gives them that opportunity. Go back to discipline. If you take that 10 to 12% and you give them an alternative setting, guess what? Your discipline issues go down, they're successful, the students that want to learn are successful, and your classrooms function at a higher level. Those students learn better, they become productive citizens, and our dropout rates go down. Diploma Plus works the way it needs to, and those students get what they need to learn. Alternative schools. It's a way to look at those 10 to 12% that don't learn. You don't need more funding. You have to get creative with what you have. We do not have an alternative placement setting for those students, or at least not currently. That was shut down a few years ago because of funding. Let's get creative with what we have. We have teachers that are qualified to teach in those settings. We can make that happen. Third, we need to look at some of our grading policies. If you don't believe me, go look at the secondary grading policy that is out there. Every parent has access to it. Every board member has access to it. Where in life can you turn in something 2 weeks late and still get credit for it? That's not reasonable. And if you want to be a top 10 school district and you want to go Diploma Plus, you shouldn't have college students coming back to you saying, you set me up to fail. True story. Every quarter, we allow our students a 2-week window to turn in work that they missed for that quarter. And while I appreciate the thought process that went into that, it does not help them get prepared for life. Because if you go to your boss and you say, gosh, I just did not have time to get that done last week. Let me go ahead and get that turned into you this week. How long are you going to have that job? No. You're going to be looking for a job in a couple of weeks. That's not going to work. And so if we want Diploma Plus and college-ready kids, kids that actually can function in life, let's help them get life ready. And let's look at those policies, because you're setting them up for procrastination. So let's look at our secondary grading policies. Failing first semester and being able to get a high grade second semester, that's great. You learn something second semester. But we really, really, really need to evaluate how we address our grading. So let's set them up to be successful. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Harold.
Thank you very much for your comments. Do you find that there is a connection between, you mentioned a couple of things, teacher retainment and discipline, classroom discipline?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it starts at the top. If there's policies to help with that, absolutely. If you're going to tell me that I have to spend time in my classroom dealing with 5 or 6 discipline issues, I'm going to be burnt out.
Sure.
I'm going to be tired by the end of the day. I'm going to go home, and I don't have time to think about the 15 kids that presented positive things in my life that day. I'm going to be thinking about those 5 kids that I had to struggle with at the discipline level. Sure.
Thank you.
So what are some of the solutions in your mind's eye? Obviously, we have a month and a half left of the school year. In your mind's eye, what would be some of those solutions until the policies are put into place?
I think we need to look at the small infractions that lead to big infractions. So I don't think there's a high school out there that doesn't have a truancy issue right now and doesn't have a hall walking issue right now. And it's not just about classroom engagement, because I can create the most engaging lessons in the world. I think you need to look at your level 1 and your level 2 infractions and figure out how you're going to support your high schools in those infractions. I think you need to readdress how you support your administrators in those infractions and what they can do at each level for those infractions. It's a little late in the year for that, but you could at least address it for next year. And I think it also goes back to looking at those alternative settings for those kids that just cannot be in a classroom or do not learn that same way. Support the parents, support the administrators that are trying to help these kids.
Thank you.
One more. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the law enforcement officer has restrictions, that when the student commits a crime, for lack of a better word, then that is when that officer intervenes, compared to a security guard. Do you see any positive having one than the other, or maybe a need for someone to who is not supposed to address discipline, yet is on site? So where do those situations occur, where the roles, just by situation, cause people to, you want them to intervene, but are there any restrictions? How do we clean up, make some of those lines clear, maybe?
All right, Dr. Wynn, let me make sure I understand you.
Well, just say what you feel, because you're in the trenches.
What I need is that if I have got a student that has become an issue, I need to know that if I call and I need help, I need that student removed. I need that student to be taken out of my classroom. That is not always a possibility. So, truthfully, in this building, an extra set of hands would be nice. Right now, there's not enough funding to do that from a school officer standpoint, okay? From a security guard standpoint, I don't know what those policies are. I don't know what the difference is between having a school resource officer versus a security guard. That's a little out of my realm. That would be an administrator's question. But I do know that There are times when an extra set of hands that is qualified to take a student out of the classroom. I've got 30 kids or 25 kids in a classroom. I need one student removed. I need them gone. Because if that is where the disturbance is, I need to be able to focus on the 25 that are left or the 26 that are left so that I can teach my kids. And so the bottom line comes down to where discipline is concerned, we need extra help. And we need to know that if a student is an issue, that student is going to be dealt with in a reasonable fashion. And if they are a consistent issue, sending them home for a day and letting them come back the next day is not the answer. And if it's on a regular basis, we need additional support. And it's not there. Those policies are not in place to support that. And that's where that alternative setting or support would come in. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, but it gives us something more to think about because we don't know.
We have a situation where we have a lot of repeat offenders. And there's only so much you can do with them. And at some point, you don't want them out of school. I don't want them to go, home permanently. That's not the answer. They need education. They need to have a place where they can go to get that education. Sending them home is not the answer.
Thank you for your honesty.
Anybody else?
Do you have, does secondary school have any school suspension?
At our freshman academy level, which we started this year, we started a freshman academy, we have a short-term in-school suspension, but that's all we have in this building. So if they go home, they're out of school, or we have what's called ASP, which is after-school program, can be there for up to 25 days. But other than that, that's it.
But you don't have a certain, how much time can I get spent in school suspension? 5 days, 7 days?
At the freshman academy level,
No, in the school.
here at the freshman level, it's whatever we decide. I don't know what the other schools do for that.
Can they have in-school suspension here?
In KCK? Or here at Washington? At the freshman level, yes. That's where it ends.
How many days?
As many as we decide. It's open. So if we feel that they need to be there for 5 days, we'll put them there for 5. If they need to be there for 2, we'll put them there for 2. Any child at the freshman level that has been suspended comes back into in-school suspension. They do not go back into their regular classes.
What about sophomore, junior, senior?
Not at this point.
Okay.
So that takes a little bit of funding.
Ms. Malcolm, thank you for your comment. And as a retired teacher, when this policy was put into place, I was a part of it in recognizing those steps that we had to take in order to make sure that the students are going to be in compliance to what we want them to do. I agree with you, there were some issues with it, whereas it was not working. And what I'm hearing you say is that we need to look at it and revise it. And so therefore, hopefully, with your suggestions of the things that you have pointed out to us, we can bring about a change. It's time to do that. But to also recognize that it's not only the school board, it's the parents, it's the community, it's administration. We all have to work together to bring about this change because currently it's not working. And discipline seems to be one of the major issues that we keep hearing about. So to those parents who are present today as well as listening, we solicit your help as much as we can so that we can help our teachers to be able to do the best they can to educate your children. And again, I really applaud you and thank you for coming forward and saying something.
Thank you very much.
Very good, man.
Okay, next up I have Denise Davis.
Well, I'm not a millennial, so I have to use my paper. As he said, my name is Denise Davis, and I'm currently president of North Wellborn Watch and treasurer to Leavenworth Road Association. I thank you guys for your time in conducting these meetings. I believe getting the community's feedback is vital to understanding what our residents want and expect from our schools and school boards. After decades of just maintaining our schools, our residents decided much more was needed. That's why approximately 80% of the voters in last fall's election overwhelmingly approved the school board bond to build new schools and make upgrades. Our voices came across loud and clear. We want more for our children. Hopefully all board members are committed to the same goal. I live in the Welborn area, so we're getting to see Welborn Elementary's 100-year-old building come down, and we're really excited for the new design. That will truly be a shining star in our neighborhood. Secondly, I'd like to comment on a new program that USD's taken on, and that's the Teachers Academy for the citizens. I attended that last year, and I would recommend it for everybody. For people that have not been inside a school building, my kids are grown, my grandkids are grown, so it has been an eye-opener to see how things are done differently. There's a lot of moving parts, from getting our students to and from school, the overwhelming number of languages, the social work that goes into helping the kids and their needs, financing of running a big district, and they still have to engage in the students to get them to learn. But the common thread is what's best for our children. I highly recommend this academy. In closing, we need to stay the course, not only for our children, but also to attract the best qualified teachers and administration. And I also wish you good luck in your endeavors in finding a new superintendent. Dr. Lane has definitely set the bar high.
Thank you so much for those comments, and I want to encourage the community that you do have a voice. On our website, you will be able to complete 2 surveys that are out there to help choose the characteristics and thoughts behind us choosing the new superintendent. So I would encourage everyone to go fill out that survey and give us feedback.
And then the second time, you have public meetings at the district office on the 5th at different times for community input.
Okay, next we have Rachel Russell.
All right, so I want to put on my PTA hat first, and I want to say that something that has continuously come to the council level is parent engagement at the school. So they start a PTA, they're a part of the site council, or what PTO or what have you at a particular school. The administration is on board when it's something that they want to do, but the administration is not on board when they don't want parents present. As you all know, when it comes to parent engagement, you get it all or you get nothing. We have to get our administrators all on board. If a principal that I know, like I can say Sarah Pike because I was at Francis Willard, she was wonderful. Her and I worked together. If she was to leave that school and go on to another school, I'd be like, you have a great principal. But what happens is when that new old school gets a new principal, that principal isn't on board. And so then it creates this conflict of, oh, you can come to our family engagement or literacy nights or math nights, but you can't come to our glow party. So we really have got to strive to tell our administrators, you either want parents in the school at all times supporting you, or you don't want them at all. And I think that starts with you all at the district level saying, hey, we want our parents engaged. Because the moment that I have a bad interaction with administrators, there was a glow party this week, and that's how this conversation started. One of the administrators came up to the parent, who was also the PTA president, and was like, there's no parents allowed here. My child's here. You want community involvement. You want this, but you don't want me to be at a glow party. So I think either we have policies or we have some type of open engagement. Hey, we want parents involved. We want the community involved at all levels. Okay, taking that away. My personal issue that I have is I am a parent that is very involved. I'm there for parent-teacher conferences. I'm there supporting the staff during Staff Appreciation Week. You need me to print off copies for you. I leave work. I do whatever you need. I'm always in my child's school. What I do have an issue with is my child this week, just like any 12-year-old teenager, has an attitude. She talks back. Well, I guess this has been going on for 2 weeks. Well, This last week, she must have talked back at the wrong time. So where did that land her? ISS. You didn't call me. You got my phone number. You didn't email me. You have my work phone number. That is an issue that I have. So yes, we have some disciplinary issues. Our teachers, hey, get tired. They're exhausted. But my child, if you didn't call me, then that's the first issue that I got with you. But then that follows her. And it's all because she talked back to you? Like ISS. Straight A student, ISS, just because she talked back to you and you didn't like it. That's an issue. So I think when we look at disciplinary, we can't always, and I feel for the teacher because you got other students that have been working your nerves. My kids work my nerves. So some days, one kid gets one because the other one already got me. But ISS follows my child. And it's ISS for 30 minutes. What really did that do for her? So I think from a parent's perspective, I would like for you, whenever you talk about disciplinary, we need to make sure that we're picking up the phone and calling our parents and letting them know. We need to make sure that there's some type of warning or what have you. My daughter will talk back again, but does that mean that she needs to be in ISS for that? No. We all know what it's like to have a girl, for one, but her to be 12 and be in the 7th grade. So I'll get off my soapbox. There we go.
Could I ask what a glow party is?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's the glowing. It glows up like the necklace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the back. Yeah, right.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that question.
what
'Cause I was thinking the same.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
So a glow party, it was apparently a party where you go where you have necklaces and bracelets that, well,
Yeah,
apparently
it
you don't
is.
even know what it is. So
It is.
You can on behalf of the parents. It was for kids.
Right. It's a glow party that they can attend and get glow necklaces, glow bracelets, glow everything, and they can pay extra for it. But, right, and it's after school generally. So that would be an issue to, of course, talk to the appropriate chain, the principal, and try to resolve it.
Well,
That was the principal?
That was the person that
Okay.
told that parent that.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, next I have, is it Angie, is it Topher or Tofret?
Hello, I'm a parent at Washington High School, and I really don't have much to say. I have some questions. If you can't answer them, I would like to meet with every board member and every administrator at Washington High School. I'm sure that everybody knows what's going on that attends Washington. I'm a concerned parent. I have always been. I'm down to my last child. She's a 10th grader. Yesterday, I withdrew her out of school. She's 16 years old. In my eyes, that's not an option. But the things that we're dealing with at Washington, that's my last option before anything else happens. So I have some questions. If y'all can't answer them in front of the people, I understand. But I would like to meet with all of y'all and all of Washington High School administrators on y'all's time within the next week, if possible. So the first question I have is, what is your policy on the administrators putting their hands on a student? If you can't answer it here, just wave me. I'll go to the next one.
Just read your questions.
The second question is a taser defined as a weapon? The third question is, what's your policy about the Facebook posts in regards to what happens at school, whether it's during school or after school? How safe are our kids in school if all the metal detectors are not working? What changes are you willing to make?
Could you slow down just?
Okay, which one you want me to go back to?
What was 4 again?
How safe are our schools if all the metal detectors are not working?
Okay.
You ready? The fifth one is, what changes are you willing to make to your policy on inciting a fight? Given a better definition is probably what I'm meaning by inciting a fight, because at this point, inciting a fight can mean you laughed, you was in the group, you were there. So I need to be a little clear on that. And this goes back to the teacher's question. How do you bring change to a school when the administration won't listen to you? Those are all my questions that I have. I'm a very concerned parent. I'm an outgoing parent. I'm not a perfect parent, but I'm down to my last kid of 4. What's going on in our district is beyond out of hand. I can't speak for everybody. I'm 38 years old. I'm very, very concerned. I have a lot more that I need to say, but I know this ain't really the place. So that's why I asked up front for y'all to please meet with me as soon as possible, at least to see if I can get my child back in a school that I really don't want her in, but she's 16 and she has to go to school. Thanks to Ms. Simons, she has stood there, and I thought about our conversation yesterday, and that's why I came today, because she is a lady that has always been behind her parents and students that I know of at Washington, and she's encouraging me to put my daughter back in school. Again, she's 16. I haven't had anybody else encourage me. When I said, give me her withdrawal papers, I got that. She's 16.
So a couple things. Before you leave, be sure to talk to a couple of administrators today. Dr. Strickland certainly will talk to you, and maybe Dr. Viveros, I believe, are the ones that would be over Washington from the administrative level. So don't leave without talking to somebody today, okay? Secondarily, I can answer a couple of the questions on here publicly, and then the others, somebody will talk to you about them. A taser is certainly considered a weapon under district policy as well as state statute, so a taser is considered a weapon. Facebook posts are difficult because most people put Facebook posts, particularly if they're kids, half the time, district personnel, teachers, staff, we can't monitor Facebook 24/7, certainly can't monitor it while we're trying to do other things in the building, so that becomes a difficult place with it.
Okay, so as a parent, when I bring a Facebook post to school, off of my daughter's page, and it says, I'll have some tasers tomorrow at school for you.
That's a threat that could then be dealt with. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I bring that to school, and the school's response is, it doesn't say your child's name directly. So that's my problem that I'm having with this, because I can give you all the information off of Facebook, and it's kids, and it doesn't matter, because I'm a parent that's nosy, and I'll be all on the pages, so I know what they're talking about.
Sure.
But when I bring it to the school to try and make the school aware of it, they're strictly telling me it doesn't say a child's name. But I know for a fact you're directing that to my child. So as a parent, I'm at the point now where I don't bring nothing to the school. Why? Because the school is not standing behind me when I'm trying to cut this conflict down. So where do I go from there?
Sure. I think as it relates to the specific issue, talk to somebody again before you leave, but as a general premise, don't stop bringing information to the school if you've got a concern. I understand, but you can't, as a parent, not continue to try to engage the district personnel and to try to present information that might create a situation or a problem for your daughter. Is it a daughter, right? Yeah. So you don't want to not do that. But some things on Facebook, on social media, text messages, if we don't have the context for them, it can be difficult to effectively engage in discipline or to deal with those situations, particularly if they're coming from outside the school setting. It's easier for school districts as a matter of law to deal with that when it's happening in the school setting, if the posts are coming during the school day, things of that nature. And that's just part of the difficulty of dealing with Facebook. Well, yeah. So that yeah.
And I understand Facebook is something that
Right.
the school should have to deal with. I wish they could block it completely while they're at school, because they're not learning. They're on every social media site that's allowed to be on.
Yeah.
It needs to be blocked. Take the laptops away. Half of them ain't got internet on their phones, no way. How they gonna get on it if they ain't got it?
Yeah.
We giving our kids stuff that's saying, go to school and be on social media. You don't need to know math. You don't need to learn how to write in cursive. You don't need to learn none of that. Just keep up all the BS that we got going on, and that's what we're gonna do. Our teachers, I applaud all teachers, because this ain't nothing but a big old daycare. This is exactly what it is, and the teachers go through more than what we probably realize, and I respect them for even standing here. I've been a parent, my oldest child is 24, they all went to Washington. I'm having the same repeat problems. There's no reason that I have this much hatred built up against this school to say, I'm taking my daughter out of here. And one person, one single lady in this building said, don't do it, think about it.
The other thing, and in terms of some of the other stuff, the disciplinary code as it deals with inciting fighting and things of that nature, The board's reviewing the current disciplinary code right now. That's part of they had a first read of the disciplinary code that will be adopted for next year, last board meeting. So they're taking a look at those kinds of definitions, and we'll make changes as the board sees fit based upon recommendations from administration. So that's in the process. We're looking at it. And that's part of why we're here today, to hear those kinds of things. Okay?
Metal
Yeah.
detector, metal detector.
Obviously, we want the metal detectors to work. I don't know factually what's the situation there, so that's something you'll have to talk to somebody about, because I just don't know what the situation is there. We want our metal detectors to work. I'm assuming they're working. If they're not, then that's something that needs to be addressed.
And I want to thank you for being a concerned parent. I have 2 children in District 500, and I'm choosing to stay here. I'm choosing to send my daughter to Wyandotte High School. I'm choosing to make a difference for parents. And again, this system rides on my children as well. The policies we make will directly impact my 14-year-old and my 5-year-old. So this is not something that I take lightly. It's not something that is hearsay to me. My children, too, are impacted with what's going on. So, yes, we certainly hear you, and we want to make sure that you get the resources so your daughter will be able to stay in District 500 and be successful.
And I know the answer to this, because you wouldn't have brought it if you didn't. You reported the metal detector not working, right?
Actually, in all honesty, I had about 25 kids inbox me yesterday because of the incident that occurred here, and they said, Miss Angie, the metal detectors don't work. I don't want to put a student on blast that's here.
No.
But they also told me that today since I've been here.
Okay.
The metal detectors don't work, or they can have on a jacket or a button-up shirt, and it goes off. They go through the metal detector, and then they tell them go back, and they wind them, and it does the same thing, and they say, okay, go ahead. So how safe are they? Because if you're just saying go ahead,
Okay.
you never know what's going on through that metal detector.
That should be simple to correct in my non-mechanical brain.
I'd just like to commend you for stepping forward and bringing those issues to our attention. Because until we know the problems, we can't really work toward the solutions. Maybe Greg can support my comments in this respect. But unless there are some extenuating circumstances where a teacher is trying to defend themselves, I don't know if there's any reason for a teacher to put his hand on a child.
Okay, it's an actual administrator, not a teacher. It's a front office person, not a teacher.
Okay.
I think it would depend on what the circumstances are. So we need to know more about what you're specifically talking about, which is why I reserved it to talk to somebody afterwards. Okay.
Thank you.
The next comment I have is from Brandy, who I take as this one of the online ones. Oh, she had to leave, I'm sorry. So she had a couple questions for the board. The first was, why can't band students have online classes for tech? The second question she had for the board is, why don't parents hear more about dual enrollment, and why do students have to take tests before dual enrollment? And the last question she had was, why are we not taking more safety measures for our students to feel safe?
And clarify, dual enrollment, they're meaning with the tech school and high school?
That is my assumption, since she was talking about tech in the first question, but I don't know the answer to that because I did not talk to her. But I read it that way as well, that she's talking about dual enrollment with the tech school.
Okay.
That's what I gather. And we'll try and get answers for her. Next person I have is Mary Ricks. Ricketts. I'm massacring everybody's name today. I'm so sorry.
Doing great. Oh, we've got a good crowd today. I'm Mary Ricketts. I also sit on our KCK PTA board, and I know she probably hasn't said anything yet, but Monica Crow is also here, our state Kansas PTA. Here's what I wrote on the paper, but there's a couple things I wanted to hit on real quick. I'm gonna put my PTA hat on. One of the things we hear from a PTA side with the teachers is we do want parent engagement. The other thing that we hear is that we do have a discipline problem. And can I help you guys some? It's not just here. I did have a child that spent his freshman year here, and the stories that he would come home and tell me about the children around him was shocking. And when I think what really shocked him more was he said, Mama, it wasn't the guys, it was the girls. So as parents in the room, can I just, who has children in school in USD 500? Okay, it's a few of us here. So if you tell me we have some discipline problems, that means as a parent, I need to check some stuff at home. I don't know how to be anything but real. Because if I've got discipline problems, and let me tell you, oh, we're live streaming, aren't we? Okay. I want to make sure because I'll be at church in the morning. But let me just say this. Can I be as honest as a parent? When my son can still pull a 4.0 in his freshman year here, and he busted his butt to do it. He's at Sumner now. But I'm a little, can I say pissed off?
No.
I'm a little irritated.
There we go. That's a better word.
When other children are cutting up in class, and you're affecting my child's learning. So can we flip the script a little bit? Because that's not fair to my children. If your children are the ones cutting up in class, I need you to handle that at home. Because the things that happen in our schools that we don't hear about from our kids, it is happening, you guys. When I find out the children are still having relations on the bus, because I know we got some babies in here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. On a school bus, I'm concerned about that. When I hear of the language, and y'all know they're videotaping the foolishness that's going on in some of the classes, and when I would see some of that, I'm like, where was the teacher? Well, the teacher left the classroom. They walked out. We need to address some things at home. When I hear what this mother is saying, my heart breaks. Because that child didn't get like that cutting up yesterday. Anybody disagree? Okay. All right. So I'm going to get off of that one. So my other question I had on here, more for the board, is I'm a little concerned about the lack of principal and teacher interaction. There are some things going on with some of our teachers in the classrooms that the principal are not aware of. I'm going to give you, for instance, grading a paper, someone writes this paper in pencil instead of ink. And immediately, the teacher says, knock off 25%. They say take off 5 points. It was a 20-point paper. So my thing is, you've already knocked that child down to 75%. It wasn't my child's paper, just so I could throw that out there, but it was someone else's paper. I'm a little concerned about that. I get your instructions were write this paper in ink. But if you're going to damage them already with a 25% drop, I'm a little concerned about that as a parent. I think we need to figure out a way, and I don't have the answer. How do we put some checks and balances in between the teachers and the principals? I don't know how much the principals can actually do, but there needs to be some checks and balances going on with how some of these teachers are grading, how some of these teachers are, I'm trying to think of a nice word and it's not quite coming out right. I think that's probably the best way I can say. I think we need to deal with some things from that teacher and principal. I need to see the principals more aware of what's going on within those classrooms. For me, and I'm a little old school, if I have 20 employees, I'm not meeting with them just when it's time to do reviews. I'm having regular interactions, right? I need to see the same thing. My children are doing excellent in school. I want to hit one more point, and then I'm going to be quiet. When Rachel was talking about her daughter getting an ISS, I have a son that is a 6th grader at Eisenhower. I've been the Eisenhower PTA president for 3-4 years. Too long. Somebody need to come on and join me. But my little 6th grader boy, who is very much a little 6th grader boy, he's a little kid mind. He still loves toys. But he's wrestling and tussling with somebody in gym over the basketball. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call. He's getting suspended for 2 days. What? They're boys. They're boys. They were wrestling and wrestling over a basketball, probably a little bit less than what you see on TV with the pro players. But that caused both of those kids to be suspended for 2 days. And they're buddies. They're friends. And they tell the administrator, well, we're you know, what are you going to say? We're fighting for the ball. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? It's those kind of things that I'm like, Rachel, that's going to sit on my baby's record. Has he gotten past it? Absolutely. But I'm a little challenged when I don't feel like we have some checks and balances between what is considered suspendable. You know, what is really considered ISS? You know, and I know Greg already said that you guys are working on some of the discipline things, but if you see me go up to Rachel and say, girl, oh, you hit her. I didn't hit you down. You know, you hit her, that's a suspension. That's what's going on at some of our schools. And I think we just need to tighten that up a little bit. So quick recap, discipline, we need to handle some business at home. You know if your child is the one cutting up. You know if your child is the one bullying. I'm old school. I'm still a hands-on mama. I said that live stream. Handle that at home because it's not fair. First of all, it's not fair to your own child, and it's not fair to the ones that are trying to learn. I'm done. At all, or we're close to suspensions. That's what I've been told.
Okay, next I have, is it Amalia Murguia?
Hi, I'm a recent graduate of Sumner Academy. I graduated last spring. I go to Georgetown University now, and I'm home on spring break. So I heard you were having this meeting, and I really wanted to come see Washington. I was on the swim team, so I was here all the time in the spring semester because we would share their pool with them. And I know that by no means is the district perfect, or do we have a perfect system, but I did want to come home and say that we managed to do a whole lot with what we got so far. I certainly got some good things out of the district. I got a lot of positives. Not the least of which was the level of community involvement that I felt we had with the schools, especially at Sumner. We had a really good relationship with the 8th Street Baptist Church, which was right next door. And it taught me a lot about how to deal with people and how you can help your neighbors out and your neighbors will help you out back. They did, one example is they let us use their parking lot for student parking because we didn't have space. And so to thank them in the spring, me and some other of my friends volunteered to help, clean up their garden areas, plant some flowers for them. And so being in the district really just taught me a lot about how to be a member of the community and how to help out people, just to be nice and to be neighborly. And, discipline can be an issue at all schools. And they certainly didn't treat us like kids a lot, I think. But we did learn how to manage things, and we learned a lot academically. I got my IB diploma last summer.
Great.
Yeah, which is also Diploma Plus, which is really helpful. And I think it really made me competitive at a university level. And I think it made me more prepared for college courses. But I think you also need to be clear with the students and with the parents of what to expect from different programs. So Sumner is very much a college prep school, and it's not really training for the job market. That's not the route they're going, and I think that's realistic and that's good, but I think you need to be clear with the students and the parents about what to expect from college prep and from the IB classes in general. I didn't get any college credit from that, and I don't think I should have gotten college credit for it, but all the same, it was very helpful, and you just need to be clear about your goals and what you're hoping to gain from certain aspects of your education. So thank you so much. I had a wonderful experience.
Thank you.
Okay, next I have Linda Bowman.
Hi, my name is Linda Bowman. I am a parent here in the district. I have a 16-year-old and I have an 8-year-old. Yay, gaps. But what I wanted to talk today about was the Quest program. My 16-year-old is not a perfect human being in any stretch of the imagination. He's lazy, he's stubborn. The problems that his teachers have with him are definitely brought on by his own stuff. But the Quest program, when they're in elementary school, is super interactive. It's very engaging. The kids, I don't think I've ever met a kid in Quest in elementary school that did not love it. The only problem that I have with it is that my child at that point was not expected to make up any of the classwork for the classes that he missed to participate in the Quest program. So that sort of set him up when he got into middle school, and the Quest program becomes much less engaging. I'm not sure if it's just because there's so many students in one school, or I don't actually know what the issue is. I can't speak to that. But in high school, it's not even a thing. He goes here, and the teacher that is assigned to him for his Quest program is a wonderful human being. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to him. I believe that he's absolutely invested in my kid, but he also has to pay attention to at least 100 kids. So he doesn't, and he's traveling all over the school district to do so. He's assigned to 8th graders at Sumner, I believe, and then seniors at Sumner, and then also in this school, all of their Quest students, and I'm pretty sure in other schools. And you should definitely fact check me on that one, but he's stretched thin, and I don't think that it's his fault that my kid is not engaged. Again, my kid is not perfect. I adore him, but I don't expect his teachers to. But not having that discipline from the get-go is one of the reasons that I'm thinking about not putting my 8-year-old in the Quest program if he successfully tested into it. And it's just something that I would like to have maybe looked at. I know there's no money coming anywhere, but if there's something that we can look at, because it's considered a special needs program, and who knows what the special needs then looks like on the other side of the spectrum, but it concerns me about the amount of attention that those children are receiving.
Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you for that. Could I get clarification on the Quest program?
It's a program for
Gifted, okay.
Sorry. The Quest program is for gifted students. You have to test into it. Generally, they wait until about the 3rd grade to have a student test into it. They are, I believe, tested every 3 years to be able to participate. They get, in elementary school, they spend something like 3 hours every week, an hour and a half one day and an hour and a half another day, with all the other Quest students in the area. And they do a bunch of really cool things, science projects and stuff that's challenging beyond the curriculum that they're receiving in their home school.
Okay, thank you. My son was tested, and he was gifted in the gifted program, and I didn't know they had changed the name. So thank you for clarifying that.
It's spelled badly.
Okay.
Okay, the next comment I have is a YouTube comment, or it's a YouTube question from Isaac. I'm going to probably mispronounce this name as I'm having a bad day with names, but Satan is, I believe, how it's pronounced. And the question is, can someone tell me how much funding goes into clubs in high school? And I think that probably depends on the club and what goes on with it. Next up, I have Patricia Hodison, all the way in the back.
Hello, I'm a teacher and a parent, but I've got my parent hat on right now. And my, I guess, kind of questions or just for consideration is kind of perception of parents. I have friends, let me start. I have an 8th grader in the district. He's on the autism spectrum. And I have friends who have chosen not to put their children in school or keep them in school in the district. They're choosing private schools instead because of concerns, some about behavior, some about academics. And that's kind of where I think that maybe we have some room for improvement academically. We chose not to send my son to Sumner. He qualified, but we felt like, especially with the full IB program, with his special needs, that it was not going to be a good fit for him. But for example, in math this year, he's excelled. He has upper 90% the whole year. He has had almost no homework the entire year. I think maybe 3 times the year he's brought homework home. And that's a concern to me because I know he's not going to be prepared for high school, hopefully, and definitely not what he's going to do beyond that, because that's kind of the same in every class. He really hasn't had a lot of homework, and especially middle school. And as a teacher, I know part of that is we send homework home, and we don't get it back. And so then it's, okay, well, now the kid has a 0, and their grade's going down, and it kind of becomes this rolling snowball. But that's one of the things that I feel like when parents, and I hear from my friends a lot, well, my kids never have homework. I don't know what they're doing. And so that's a concern. Honors courses in the middle schools, I think, would be helpful. We don't offer anything for kids who are excelling, but may not qualify for Quest. And so that could be one way to give those kids who are needing a challenge or wanting a challenge a way to kind of step up and have that challenge while we're still meeting the needs of the other kids that are in the schools. I'm sorry, it just timed out. And then the other question I have is more about kind of our standards in comparison to other districts. So I know my son's excelling here, and in comparison to his peers, that's what his teachers tell me and such. I'm wondering, how does that compare when we compare with other kids that are not in KCKPS? When I think of the work that that we give, some of the work that kids are completing, and I look at some of the work that I know that kids in other districts are completing, they're not the same level or quality of work. And again, speaking for myself, I know I have had to sometimes lower the quality of work that I accept in order to be able to give the kids a score that is not going to cause them to fail. So somehow we need to help both our kids and our parents and our teachers all understand what is the real level of work and what is the rigor and what is really required of kids when they step out into college in comparison with the rest of Kansas.
I also want to add that beyond, all kids will not go to college. And I love the Diploma Plus program because we expose students to the technical areas that are available. If anyone hired a plumber lately, oh my goodness. I was like, maybe I could have thought of a different profession. But the beauty of it is we have opportunities available to prepare our students not only for college, but for technical skills. And so as we partner with you to help us, the board will be looking at those topics to be able to address rigor. And I love the ideas that are coming about relating to really focusing on the different levels of students.
Thank you. Next I have, if I'm reading this correctly, is it Mildred Slaughter?
My concern is a little different than what I've heard so far. Not that all of them weren't important, but watching the media and the news, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, my concern is that some of the solutions they've come up to stop a lot of the shootings, terrorists in the schools, is to staff teachers with guns. I don't think it's a good solution because, you know, they're talking about training the teachers and the staff, whoever they choose, to do this. But my concern is I don't think it's a good thing to do. Now, I know that District 500 has been cut a lot in funding from Topeka, but there is some way, because I heard someone say the community and parents need to get involved. How do we rally up in Topeka to get funding for District 500 to put some of these things in order for us to have our children to be safe? Now, I was an active mother, active grandmother. I have a great-grandbaby. Will be starting school this coming fall, and I'll be active even then. I had them from Sumner Academy, from really all Sumner, Washington, Wyandotte, and Sligo. And I have a youngest grandson that is in Sligo and is an A student. So that comes with parenting involvement. So my question is, how do we get the funding to secure our children in the school so they can be safe? And how do we get parents, neighbors involved to do this? Because it's much needed. I don't think teachers need to be staffed with guns, because you lock them up, the locks will be broken. They'll find a way to get in there to get them. Some child is mad at another, and then you shoot. So I think this needs to be addressed, and how do we go about getting the funds to do this? Because there is a board up in Topeka as well as here in District 500 down here.
I'll take that. First, it's good to see you again, Ms. Slaughter. All right. Well, let me answer it like this. For the most part, the Wyandotte County delegation supports public school. Not for the most part, but I'm saying 99% of the time. There are some issues that, because of other pressures, the scholarship program that for me is like a voucher that students have been, about 100 students are peeled off of USD 500.
And funding goes by head count, essentially. Okay, so for the most part, you don't have a problem with us supporting as much funding as we can get. And because there is a majority that do not support public schools, over the last 12 years, it's been the courts that have caused us to go back and provide additional funding. But when it comes to the gun issue, again, I'll say 99% of the delegation in the county will not vote for arming teachers. And for the most part, the majority of that House, can't speak to the Senate, but the majority of the House, because you have some moderates in there, will not vote to arm teachers. And the bill that is currently on the table is so weird because not only does it want to arm teachers, it's through the insurance committee that you'll then fine the school districts if you don't arm teachers, which is stupid. So chances are that won't come out of committee. But there is a large number of people in the House that are concerned about their NRA ratings. And so some of us won't vote. Well, that, I remember seeing a sign, one of the students had it in this march last week that said, "Your silence is violence." So if you are concerned about your NRA rating, I'm concerned about you. I have issue with you. So one of the bills that I voted against just 2-3 days ago had Eddie the Eagle gun safety program in it. By definition, it could be, and it probably is, a solid gun safety education program, but not to put it in a statute. That is strictly says NRA. But there were only 4 of us who voted against it. That's out of 125. And some didn't vote. So it's a serious issue. You have a majority, Kansas is an open carry state. You have a lot of legislators worried about their NRA rating. And I'm proud of my F- from NRA. There it is. But go back to your original question. We've got to mobilize, we've got to register, we've got to vote, and those who do not promote the safety of our students or funding need to be voted out. There I am. Thank you.
Plain and simple.
Okay, that's the last of the names that I have. Is there anybody who wanted to comment that didn't get an, oh, I got one more card that's being flashed at me. But if you haven't put your name in, or if you'd like to comment while I'm getting this one, Abigail Brown.
Yes. Hi, guys. I'm a teacher here at Washington, even though I may not look like it because I'm so young. I've been here 5 years, though. I started here at KU, placed me here for my student teaching, and honestly, glad I never left. This is home. This is home for sure. I'm a special educator here. I work with students that are in the general ed classroom, and I provide supports. So I go in and help make sure that they're doing what they need to do in order to be successful. I think the first thing that I'm concerned about with special education is we need the teachers. We have a call for educators, specifically special ed, and we cannot find them. We also cannot keep them in the building. There's been a lot of certification issues with special educators in our state, as you guys are probably aware. And that's created some gaps of instruction and gaps for teachers. So we are stretched thin this school year. We've lost 2 teachers already that are special ed specific due to licensure. So it is serious. The other serious concern that I have is we are forced to split class periods to support these kids. And what that does is I'm in 2 classes in 1 period. I can't be in 2 places at once. If I could, I'd let you know how to do it. But the issue is that leaves our kids unsupported for those other minutes. and it puts it on the general educator because, you know, I have to go support in a different classroom. So there's definitely a call for, we need special education teachers. We need ways to hire them, we need ways to recruit them, and we need ways to support them so that they know how to do their job and stay in their job, because it is a very tedious role. I think also there's discipline issues when it comes to special ed specific that I have to obviously mention. A lot of our children that are struggling with discipline issues also are on IEPs, so they have special ed services within the district. So there's not much choices for them when they struggle. When they struggle, they have to kind of stay where they are, and I go in and support them. So something that, you know, we need as that department is more options for those kiddos, specifically at Washington, whether that be alternative settings, resource rooms, you know, specific people coming in who are special ed specific to support the special ed teachers. Because like I said, I cannot be everywhere at once. I wish I could. And so I think we need to kind of reconsider, especially with the state policy of only 12-day suspension for our IEP kids. So what that means is they can only get 12 days of suspension, no matter what they do, because they're on an IEP. And that's a state law. And so that puts us in a bit of a predicament as teachers, as disciplinaries, and as parents, because what other options do we have for them when they get to those 12 days? How do we hold that child accountable if they're already at the 12 days of suspension? So these are just a few of my concerns. I love what I do. If you have anyone who wants to teach special ed, please come find me. But just kind of looking again at policies and looking again at what supports are in place for both teachers, families, and the students that are on IEPs.
Could you be more specific about the issues with the licenses?
Yes, so some of the issues that we had are just teachers that are certified in different states to teach, but they cannot teach in Kansas. So just getting the licensure steps, there needs to be just someone that can support teachers on how to take the steps to become certified. I think a lot of times we hire people with the intent that they'll stay and that somehow we'll get that licensure transferred over to Kansas, but it does not happen. I don't know where the disconnect is. I'm not sure if it's a teacher thing or if it's you know, the district supporting teachers in that role, but it's definitely become an issue in keeping our teachers. We had 2 teachers this year that were amazing and wanted to stay and were so good at their job. So it's something to consider when we're struggling with that licensure for testing, taking practices, and all of that.
So to your knowledge, were they aware of the timeline that they were faced?
Yes, I think that teachers are always aware of the timeline, but the problem is there's a lot of loops and things that happen, and there wasn't much support in between that. So just really making sure that when we hire someone for something that's very important, that role is legal, so we have to keep them, that there's support for those teachers and that school building either to get them licensed, and if they cannot, what are we going to do after? What are we going to do after those teachers are removed because it didn't work out? How are we going to continue to support those students that have IEPs?
Well, thank you, because as a result of these meetings, we have been introduced to more and more people, teachers, special ed, especially those with PhDs in special ed, who are interested in applying. So we want to make it clear to you. I can't say help is on the way, but
that's okay. That's okay.
We are talking this district up, and what we have to figure out if they've got to get through the pipeline.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing is because it's a legal situation, it is quite scary as an educator. You know, you're not sure what's right, what's wrong, when it comes to becoming certified for such a position like that. So I think the biggest thing is just getting that support in for teachers, holding sessions on what they need to do.
In-service and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So because once we get thrown in, we're thrown in. You know, it's hard to kind of take those step back. But I think the biggest thing is getting supports for those students too, because without me or without a role like me,
Right.
those students are not successful. And that's the whole point of inclusion, is making sure they're successful in the general ed classroom and in the general ed population.
Well, I can't speak for all of us, but these are the times that we are learning. We have not been aware or made aware.
Me, myself,
of
too, yes.
A lot of these situations.
Yes.
So it's uncomfortable for everybody.
It is. And I think the discipline really plays a role with our special ed kids. You know, there's a lot of discipline issues that come with some of the disabilities that they are encountering, a lot of emotional disturbance, and there needs to be more support for those students and for the teachers, because some of us don't know, you know, we may not have that specific specialized area. And if we do, we do. So it's kind of, it's difficult. So definitely finding, you know, our hall walkers are a lot of special ed kids. So, you know, finding supports to keep those kids in the classroom. And if they cannot be in the classroom due to a disability, finding an alternative placement so that they cannot, we don't want them not here, you know. I want them at Washington. I want to be able to work with them. But finding some sort of resource room or a place where a child can go if they're struggling in that classroom, instead of just kicking them out or giving that the suspension, or, you know, getting them to a different placement completely, right? So that's the goal, is to provide more interventions here so that way we can work with those kids.
Do you see, and again, I would say this is a yes answer, so I'm asking a question I think is yes. But a greater role, an enhanced role, maybe your, you, student, parents, maybe a higher success rate if you have additional social workers, child psychologists.
Yes.
What's the other one? Social worker, child psychologist.
We have one social worker for our entire building. So the struggle's real, you know, and our counselors too. We have 2 counselors. So yes, 100%. I cannot tell you how many more kids statistically are getting diagnosed with emotional disturbance. And it's because ED was not recognized before. And it's now becoming something that is more common. And with emotional disturbance, we need the therapy. How do we teach the skill without the therapy? You know, and so that's where we need support for social workers. We need resources for families. You know, I can't tell you how many times parents come to me and I give them everything we have, and it's still that child is struggling. You know, we've put our heads together. We had a situation last night where Miss Malcolm and I were on the phone with a parent very late, trying to come up with ideas with what we have. So yes, there is a call for not only special educators who are certified, but there's a call for counselors, social workers, family resources, because we all know that our rates of children with disabilities is increasing, and it will continue to increase. And that's just the facts. We have kids that are getting identified, and I love that, because I'm like, come on over, let me help, right? But we need the supports, because we are losing teachers because they're stretched thin, and you know, we have parents that are just in situations that are indescribable, and I'm sure some of you understand and are in that. And it's disheartening as a teacher when you want to try, but you're not sure how. You're not sure who to go to, because everyone is trying and stretched so thin. So yes, counselors, social workers, all of the above.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you very much. I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, wonderful.
How large are your classrooms?
Yes, so there are about 30 students is the max.
Wow.
That's the max. I'd say about 25 is a good class. And this is a general ed class. And then within that, I have about anywhere from 5 to 12 students on an IEP.
Okay.
So they are packed full. And then the classroom that I go to next in the same period also has 5 to 12 students that are on IEPs. So at all moments, those children are included in the general ed, which is beautiful, but the support is needed. It is needed for those children.
I got you. Would you say that most of your students are impacted by ADHD?
Yes. I'd say the majority is learning disability. So, and when you have learning disability, they struggle to learn, and so therefore they act out. So that's where the behavior kind of comes in.
Sure.
The majority, about 80%, are learning disability, and then ADHD goes within that learning disability in addition to it.
Okay, 2 more questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm here.
What role do you play in the development of the IEP?
So yes, I am a case manager. I have about 20 students on my caseload, which is a little higher than normal, only because when we lost some of our teachers, I took the kids that I'd had before to kind of help provide services for as many kids as possible. And so the role is writing the IEP, getting the information from teachers, getting in the classroom to gather data, all the way from the beginning draft stages to the IEP, to calling parents, getting them in here, having the meeting, and then also if there's discipline issues, we do that whole process over again when there's a discipline issue. And if there's another, we do it again. So very involved. I know my students very well, very well.
And how involved are the parents in that process? So, as someone mentioned here, they didn't get a call quickly.
Yes.
But how involved are the parents as it relates to that? Do they come to the school to help with discipline in a positive way, or how is the parents involved?
It depends on the parent. It depends on the family. I've had parents that, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've had parents that were so involved that I have their number on speed dial, and they know I can call at any moment. But I've also had parents year after year that haven't shown for those meetings. And as a special educator, I have to get my points of contact, and I go above and beyond that because I need the parent in there. But if they do not show, we move on. And that's the sad part with this process at the high school level, is there's a lot of children that I cannot make changes without the parent coming in. I cannot update realistically what they need without that signature. Now, yes, I'll call you over the phone and I'll talk to you about it, but if you do not physically come in, there's not much we can do. So it really keeps children locked in to their already services, and you can't really change it. So out of 20 IEPs this year, about half have shown. Half have been a part of it.
So as a working parent, am I thinking a third shift, fourth shift, go to work at 1 o'clock and physically cannot be there?
Mm-hmm.
What are alternatives that
Love
have been
that
given
question.
to parents so
Love
that
that
they
question.
can be able to? Because
Yes.
I found it's not that some parents don't want to.
Exactly.
But if you're doing it during school normal
Exactly,
hours,
yes.
you're at work or things of that nature, what opportunities do they have other than that standard time frame?
Such a great question, and luckily with technology, that's something that can be bridged. Ms. Malcolm and I also had a situation with a parent where I reached out probably 10 times, and we made it work. We had the meeting over phone. You can have it, I can do it Skype so you can see me. We've done home visits. I'll come to your home. I will come there and meet with you and be very grateful to be there. But the biggest thing is there's ways around, because I know people are busy, people are working, and I think a lot of special ed teachers don't give the option of out of school hours, but I do, so that's something to consider. We had a meeting at, I think, 4 p.m., twice rescheduled, but it still happened. So the out of school hours is something that we really need to push our special educators to work around and maybe give supports in place to do that. Maybe having supervisors, my supervisor coming in to support at that after school hour meeting, so that way we can hold them after school for parents. The biggest issue with out of school hours is you don't have the teachers or the staff there still in the building. So just kind of opening up the eyes of, hey, scheduling these are very difficult. Getting people in with enough time to plan is really difficult. So just really getting supervisors on their case managers about other alternatives to bring parents in and get them a part of the process via email, via phone, even written correspondence is better than nothing, right? So, thank you. Yes? Yes, PACES is a huge program that we use. They're my life savior. I cannot tell you how many PACES referrals I've made this year, and they've come through. So yes, PACES is a wonderful program. The biggest thing is the parents and the teachers staying committed to PACES. A lot of PACES referrals will happen. The kid will show, they'll get the support, they'll get the, you know, you need to be here from the counselor, and then they don't show. So just having people, you know, hold each other accountable, not just the parent, but the teacher calling and saying, did you go to PACES? Did you continue going? How is it going? So just that communication is what's really key to making it work.
So to clarify, PACES is not in the school, and they don't have an office or location. It's totally on the parent to find that transportation.
Yes, and that's the concern. That is the concern. We do have, you know, direct contacts to PACES because we're in contact with them so much. So, you know, at parent night a couple months ago, we made the referral that day, and they got contacted that day, and the woman showed up to the school to get that information immediately. But unless that parent is physically in our building, it's very difficult to make sure that connection's happening with the community. Definitely having someone from PACES as a representative here would be so beneficial. I don't know how that would work or look, but PACES is a huge support for our families and teachers, huge support. And sometimes we'll have PACES workers that will come in to work with children, which is awesome. But I think having a space here for them would make the connection just a little bit more solidified. And how wonderful to tell a parent, you know, the PACES office is right there. Go right there. As opposed to, here's the number, here's how you get there. I don't know how you're going to get there, but there's the address. So definitely, that resource would definitely benefit parents.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Okay, I've got another YouTube comment, or question rather, from Isaac Saden, and said, what is Harmon doing to fix security problems? And then, is it Sandy Ray Fields Sr.? Everyone sat as far back as possible. You're going to get your steps in today, right?
Hey, my name is Sandy Ray Fields Sr. I come to you as a leader in the community, as a pastor and a parent. Yes. I've only been in the district since November because my son just got here. He's 16 years old. I want to make a couple of statements and maybe two questions. How do we get back to the basics of what is stated here, respect of self, others, and the school? I've heard so many things that are said, and I heard the young lady say she got to go to church, so I wanna stay in an area where we can really get to the point, hopefully, where we can get our children, because it starts at the top. It starts at home. Like I preach at my church, I tell us, it starts at home. When the self is messed, when the person is messed up, the home is going to be messed up. And you know what? When you go in the community is going to be messed up. The community is only going to be a reflection of who you are, who you are as a person. And so what kind of things are the school district is doing in terms of a moral issue? Because we live in a society where almost where you do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and we think that it does not affect us in any kind of way, but it does. Our children see it, everyone sees it. So from a moral standpoint, what kind of things are we doing to address some of the moral issues that need to be addressed to give a good example to our children and their children and their children? So you don't have to answer that now, but what are we doing? Because we set an example that will affect them in a way. They'll never say anything about it in some ways, but it does affect them. Because it shows up in their action and how they act toward us. My dad used to always say, Your integrity is not so much true integrity when you act right in the front of me, but your integrity is true integrity how you act away from me. And I know in our society we moved away from church, we moved away from a lot of things, but we got to get back to the basics if we're going to ever fix the issues that are wrong in our society. The next question I want to ask, and then I'm going to call it quits. And my anxiety is up about a lot of things, being a pastor, because working 15 hours a day on a job and trying to pastor as well. And it does take away some things about, in terms of effectiveness, to get involved, the school and city council and all that stuff. But what kind of thing, if there are some things going on, I really need to know what they are so that I can try to do a better job at helping. What kind of things is the district doing in terms of reaching out to churches to mentor in terms of programs that help mentor children and parents, because we're in this together and we have to work at it together. But it goes back to what's stated up there: respecting yourself, respecting others, and respecting your school. So that's what I wanted to come from that point today as a pastor in the community and as a parent in the community. There's a lot I want to say, but it's just not a whole lot of time to say it. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, do I have anybody else that didn't get a card in and still wants to have a comment? I see one over here.
And I wanted to mention while she's coming up is that the churches, as he mentioned, we would welcome that involvement, but initiatives should also come from the church. So I believe they see the need.
There is a program that is already out there.
Yes, it
that
is.
Works with the local churches and works with the local businesses in the area. So, yeah.
So, sir, don't leave, because we'll be able to give you additional information about that program for churches to get more involved.
Hello, my name is Bernadette Johnson, and I want to address District 500, because I've been in District 500 since we moved to Kansas from Arkansas. And I want to say, when we moved to Kansas and we started going to District 500, I believe my first school was Hawthorne. Now it's Carruthers. We used to get jumped every day. It was to the point it was bad, but it ain't as bad as it got now. And my thing is, yesterday my kids was involved in this big old accident. My kids wasn't the ones with the taser, but my question to you guys is, if y'all have reports and the same kids is getting suspended, the same group of kids is getting suspended, and y'all know this, what's the step that y'all take to try to set up meetings to get with everybody to try to figure out what can we do to stop this? I mean, because the same group of kids got suspended a month ago for the same thing. And so now my kids look like it's dressed as hood rats out here in the community. My kids is nowhere a hood rat. I'm not a hood rat. I didn't bring my kids up to come to school to fight. My kids stays in activities. Everybody know that around here I'm always active with my kids in District 500 and everything they do. But as I say, hey, why we can't set up a meeting? Email me, text me, call me, mail a letter to me to set up a meeting, because my thing is I like to talk with the parent, the kids, to see where we can stand to try to stop this. But I see a lot of times the same kids is always the ones getting suspended, but they're not getting suspended for the right reason. And what can we do to address some type of way? Because I know, y'all know, it's all on paper, but then the same thing keep happening with the same kids, but y'all not trying to pull nothing together to try to stop all this extra violence. True enough, my daughter didn't get hurt yesterday, but she could have. I'm on the Moms on Demand to stop guns violence. I walk with them. We goes to the Topeka. We goes everywhere to try to stop guns. So now we have to figure out how we gonna stop tasers to getting into school. We had to set up a group for that too. I mean, what is the next step to try to stop this? I mean, I don't want my kids to continue to have to defend themselves, and I choose not to let my kids be into all this extra drama because they like basketball, they dance for Washington, they like to run track, they like to be in activity, and I work hard to try to make sure my kids is in activity that they want to enjoy. But at the same time, if we have these same kids is messing with the same group of kids, what is the next step that y'all gonna take to try to end this? And I mean, I even asked for meetings, to set up meetings so we can stop this, because my thing is, like I told my kids, hey, if it keep on, text me, call me, I'm on the way. And like I told the principal yesterday, it's gonna be where somebody gonna end up hurt real bad. And I don't want that. So my thing is, what's our next step? I mean, because I see it ain't a lot of parents here, and I know how many kids attend this school, and there's only a few parents in here, and I know that it's a lot of parents that got some type of kid in this school that got an issue with another kid. But if we don't address it and trying to figure out what we can do next, myself, and the other parents, if we can grab hold on that, and the other parents see, maybe they can try to grab hold on their issue, and we can try to end this. But we need y'all to step up. I know y'all have letters that y'all send out. I don't know if y'all review. Oh, okay, this student got suspended a month with this same group of kids. So let's pull them all in to see what's the cause of the problem. Who the main issue that is setting the problem, so we can try to figure out a better solution to end this violence in the school. So, and my thing is, when is it gonna start? When is it gonna start?
Are you asking the school to provide something that would allow the kids to learn how to have those civil conversations?
I'm asking the parents to step up with the teachers, the principal, the school board, so we can get this laid out on the table so we can try to stop it for the next one end up dead, and then it's going to continue to constantly be a repeated issue out here. I mean, because if my kid got suspended with the same group of girls last month, why they haven't addressed this situation before this incident yesterday? Right. I mean, because I know y'all know that the same group of kids is still involved in this same issue.
Actually, we don't know. We're the board.
You're the board. Yeah, I understand that. But the school know, and I know that when they send out letters, the boards gets it, right? Y'all don't look at the suspensions. Y'all don't. So, see, that's the problem. That's the problem. Y'all not checking into it. Okay, because my thing is, y'all the board. These kids is getting suspended. It's fighting going on. Okay, so why y'all not say, hey, y'all need to send us a memo every month on the kids that's getting suspended. If it's the same kids, then y'all know it's the kids that is causing the problem, and so that we as parents can get with parents and the school and the board to try to figure out what is the main cause of this issue. Because like I told my kids last night, hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why y'all doing all this fighting. I don't teach y'all to fight. I said, because I did that all my years growing up in District 500, and I don't want that for y'all. I want y'all to graduate and make a life out of yourself, because right now, times is hard. I lost a son 5 years ago, this year be 5 years ago, through gun violence. That's why I stand on not having guns in school. But at the same time, tasers are bad just like guns. If they get the right amount of shot to them, it can do some harm to them. So my thing is, what can we do to fix this? But if y'all not reaching out to the parents and the parents is not reaching out, I'm a parent. If you call me, I'm coming. And my kids know I'm going to snatch you up. If I feel that you in the wrong, I'm snatching you up. And Mr. Strickland know, he dealt with me for a long time. They call, I'm in the school. I don't care how I look, raggedy and all, but I'm in the school. But a lot of parents don't take initiative of their own kids. A lot of parents don't want to seem to think that their kids is not in the wrong. But I take initiative of mine. If mine's in the wrong, I'm going to snatch you up and I'm going to embarrass you real big up in the public. So my thing is, what can we do for y'all to get more involved with these kids who's starting all the issues in the school to try to end it? I mean, I asked for a meeting. I ain't got one. I mean, maybe this wouldn't have happened if we had got a meeting and all the parents and the teachers, the principals got together to try to figure out what was the problem. So, you know, this is my question, y'all. What is our next step?
Well, as he's coming, thank you. Again, we're not, you know, it's kind of like it has to get to the top for us to know, and we have not been informed. We're sitting here, but if we haven't been informed, then we can't address it. And that's what we're finding out is a disconnect.
Well, and one of the issues as it relates to specific individual discipline, the board can't get involved on an individual student-by-student basis unless it comes up through a disciplinary appeal. So each student has got privacy issues under federal and state law such that you don't have disciplinary issues that are coming up on an individualized basis. In other words, the board doesn't get a report with individual student names, and they can't under federal or state law. So they can understand issues or problems at a policy level and try to address those down through the administration, but they don't get involved in the individual specifics of a particular incident. So.
One of the things you must realize, the board sets the policies. We hire the superintendent. It goes down from the superintendent to the administration. We don't get any of this until it comes through the appeal. There are steps to take before it gets to the board.
Okay, so the next, I've got a couple more comments on the YouTube. Adrian Roberson says, if the board receives 52% of the mill taxes, how does that reflect what and how services are provided to students and teachers? That's just a YouTube question. And then he has a second YouTube question. How does a taser get through the metal detector? This alone should raise a huge red flag for school safety. And again, that's a YouTube question. Tiffany Dixon. Sorry.
Thank you. Hi, I've been listening, and I just had to comment. I'm the lead college and career coordinator at Washington High School here. And this makes me nervous, so I'm going to try to get all this out real quick. I have a very unique perspective because I'm a teacher on special assignment, basically. So I receive a small stipend, and I work with all the teachers, all the kids in our school. I have the ability to step back and look at what goes on with our administrators. We have meetings at central office, so I've been able to meet and talk to our administrators at the district level firsthand. And it's amazing to be able to work directly with the kids and then work with folks all the way up. And I've got to tell you that right now I want to encourage you, because I know so many of you are new to this role with our district. Authentic relationships are so critical, because you're going to get one perspective. You know, and Dr. Strickland says that often, this is a system change, and it's huge, and there are a lot of moving parts. I encourage you You know, I was there at the metal detectors. I don't even know if I should bring this up because I don't want to debate anything. People have true concerns. It took those kids forever to get through one metal detector that happened to be broken that day that I was standing there. And every kid went through. And so as a staff person, where I have duty, just like all the rest of the teachers, and I get to see them. Our administrators, I don't want to embarrass them, but they run around this building constantly. No one is sitting there, no one is unconcerned. And I don't know if it's a matter of looking at our resources, because I'm a product of a parent who, my 9th grade, 10th grade year, almost everybody who interacts with me knows. We were homeless. I went to 17 schools. My dad went to prison 10th grade year. My mother got her high school GED and ended up going all the way up through college. I have 3 younger sisters who are 10 and 20 years younger than me. I get it. My mother was busy working too. To say that our parents need to be more involved, I'm sure they're trying, and they're as involved as they can be or know how to be. So I hope that we can engage our industry partners in new, innovative ways, because they're connecting to our schools. That's huge. How can they walk alongside with our parents who are trying their best? How can they help teachers and administrators help our kids learn those social skills if they don't have them yet? How can we engage our growing elder population? We have a lot of retirees who are professionals. How can we do that? Right now, we need human resources, human beings all across our communities who are willing to help, some of them paid, some of them not. And how can we get information that's real and meaningful to help them know how to help our kids and our parents and our teachers? I just want to encourage you, because I'm telling you, I watch them, I engage with them at all levels. I'm probably the only person in the building who works with all the kids and all the staff like this. And so I couldn't just sit there. I don't like video, but I had to tell you that. So I encourage you, if there's any way that I can help you, I'm excited to do that. And I hope we continue to grow and learn together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got 2 more names, and then I'm being told it's about 5 till 3, so we're going to try and wrap up after I get through these names. Laderick Collins.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm actually the dean here at Washington High School, so I'm going to speak a little bit about the discipline. It won't be long. Every school has discipline issues. The district has adopted a program called Restorative Justice, and it's an approach where all the parties involved with whatever altercation sit down and talk and come to a resolution. I've done that as often as I possibly can here at Washington with the time that I'm given. Many of the times, the discipline issues that we have, administration don't know about it until at the last minute. And students are inclined to reveal that information because they feel like they'll be labeled as snitching or something like that. But like I tell them, if we're not aware of what's going on, there's nothing we can do to help. We've put things in place for students, but it also goes back home. That's the administration hat that I had on. But I'm gonna go back as a parent. I have 4 daughters at home with me. I went to a meeting on Wednesday, and we was talking about, it's called Lemonade for Life, and they talk about the ACEs scores, and pretty much everybody on the team, had something to say. But one thing that stood out for me was the information that I received from the preschool that we have here in the district. I don't know how many students in the preschool program, but they did say they have 4 behavioralist interventionists in preschool. These are 3 to 5-year-old students. How many?
That's right. She was agreeing. She was like, amen.
And I've said 3 to 5 years. I have 2 toddlers that's 3 and 4 years old at home. And what these interventionists were telling me, that they have students bringing box cutters to school. They have these kids slapping teachers, slapping administrators. And I said, this is a 3-year-old kid. They had to see this from somewhere in order to come to school to do those types of things. So I'm telling you as a parent, a 3 to 5-year-old only does what he or she sees. Many of the students in this building, I know most of them by name. We got about 1,100 students. I know them by their name. I know their parents. And I've communicated with their parents. And I've told their parents, if I have to suspend your child, I've done all I can do. We have mentoring programs that we've established for, you know, for the young boys to become men. Things are in place, but we cannot force a student to do what they're supposed to do. We cannot do that. It's against the law to force somebody to do something. We're doing all we can, and I'm gonna speak from the heart right here. Many of the times in this building, it's the young ladies that's causing all this ruckus. I got 4 daughters at home. I can deal with, you know, the mouthing part. I can deal with that. But the part that I have an issue with is the respect level for your elders. Everybody in this building is over 20-some years old as a teacher. I mean, the language that we hear around here is just ridiculous. It's commonplace. It's commonplace. I mean, according to the code of conduct, that's a class 1. What can we do? It's a class 1. We can suspend you, but that's not going to correct the behavior. I mean, what do, you know, as a school, what would you have us to do? I know y'all say y'all send y'all best, and I understand that. I send my best as well. But sometimes we need to get some training on how to be better. I'm not ashamed of saying I need some training. I've never been a young lady. Never. I've never been a young lady, but I have 4 daughters at home. 4 daughters. I do know how they're supposed to be treated, and I had these conversations with these young ladies, and it's like it goes in one ear and goes out the other. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Didn't I just tell you last week about the same behavior? The exact same behavior. So I don't know what to do with that. For the young man, I can deal with that a little bit better, like I tell parents. And when I talk to them, well, Mr. Collins, I don't know what else to do. Ma'am, what do you expect for me to do? If you don't know what to do for your own child, when he comes here, when she comes here, what do you expect for me to do for your child if you don't know what to do? So I will say, USD, I've been here 4 years. All my years at USD 500 has been at Washington. Washington has some good things going on, and none of the students, like I told them, fights happens all the time. You put your own dirty laundry out there. Just like going to your house and your mom and your daddy get into it, and you broadcast it on Facebook. You never broadcast anything about the mentorship programs that we have, the scholarship offers that we have with Ms. Dixon, with Gear Up, with all these different programs. You guys don't do that. So where does all this negativity come from that you talk about Washington when Washington is just a building? We can change the name, but is the behavior gonna change? No, I'm summing it up like this. This is a community issue. The board, y'all make the policies. Whatever policies you guys create, as an administrator in this building, I'm going to enforce those policies, whether I agree with them or disagree with them. I'm going to enforce the policies that you guys create. Y'all are elected by the parents in the community. What's happening is, I don't know if parents are afraid of their own child, that they can't get nothing done, but if you live in my house, if you pay for, if I'm paying for your food, if I'm paying the lights, if I'm putting clothes on your back, you don't do what I tell you to do or you get out. That's it. And it's the same thing at this school. If you can't come here and do what we ask you to do, it's time for you to go. Grown people do not go to school. They work a job. So at the end of the day, and like I tell them, when they come in my office, you either going to be a student here or you're going to be grown. If you grown, take your stuff and go ahead and go home and get you a job.
Thank you.
Okay, last person I've got here is Dr. Tammy Counts.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's Ms. Dixon. Thank you for the lead-in. My question is in regards to HR and our teacher shortage. And I know these are things that, as a district, you probably have already done, but I just want to see where we're at. I live in Kansas, but I work on the Missouri side, and I'd like to come home. With that being said, as a district, is the Human Resource Department going back and looking at applications? Statistics show that many teachers are dual certified. We start off regular ed, then we have to be regular ed in order to become special education. So within your teacher pool, you probably have a ton of special education teachers with the right encouragement, with the right support, with the additional training, would probably be interested in crossing back over. And this was a program that I had a chance to implement on the Missouri side, and that's how we recruited within our district. So just throwing that out as a tidbit. But with that being said, I also would like to say that there are also a lot of first through fifth year teachers, for whatever reason, may have lost their contract with the district, that may be interested in coming back. So if there was a committee that would look at those applicants to review them, there's still a lot of us out there that would like to come back and be involved in our career choice. A lot of us don't go to school just to have that extra degree. We go because we want to be teachers, and there could have possibly been something that had happened along the way in which that teacher's contract was not renewed. And I do have to say I'm an example of that. But with that also being said, I know that you need help in doing this. So as a board, maybe the next step after your listening tour is to maybe appeal to those of us that are in the field of education, that are still out there having to work because our mutual fund guy says we have to do it until we're 70. For us retired ones that still don't have enough money and we have to come back and all the jobs at Walmart are taken, but our certification is still good. So with that being said, maybe the next step would be a call to see who would come and volunteer to help with this process. And I know human resources, there's a lot of confidentiality in the application and all that information, but there are some general things that we can do to recruit teachers and to get teachers to come back to the district. So like I said, I still have 10 more years, and then my mutual fund guy said I can go home. So with that being said, thank you, and consider me as a volunteer.
Thank you.
Excuse, ma'am, before you go, would you, pardon me? Yeah, would you be a candidate for being a special ed teacher?
Yes, I have put my application in.
Okay, thank you.
Have you gotten a response that the application was received? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your suggestion.
Okay, with that, we're going to wrap up today to try to keep everybody's time commitment so you can get home to your families for Easter weekend or get home to watch the basketball games tonight, whichever is most important to you today. There is a final listening session with this, the 4 that we've got scheduled. It is set for Tuesday, April 3rd at 10 a.m. to noon at the Central Office Training Center, and it's going to be in room 131, 132. So thank you again for taking time out of your weekend, and we appreciate all the comments you've given us.
Interesting.